Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. I'm doing a series of spotlights on remarkable business intermediaries from across the country. Joining me from Akron, Ohio on this segment is Darrin Kert. He's the founder of TD Business Transaction Advisors. Darrin, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate you having me on the show.
Tell us a little bit about your work and specifically, who are the types of clients that you specialize in helping?
Certainly. My firm focuses on two very specific arenas. We really focus on the $1 to $5 million enterprise value. And that's namely because of the alignment we have with lenders, the SBA 7A and 504 programs to help fund the buyers to acquire the businesses successfully with limited funds down. And then we also focus on the bottom end of the middle market, maybe that $5 to $20 million privately held, typically interact with a lot of baby boomers that are looking to exit as well.
Tell us a little bit about these sellers, because it sounds like they've been in business for a while. They've been focusing on growth. And how much do they really think about selling? Is this the first time they're going through the sales process? And how informed or not informed are they when they reach out to you?
That's a great question, Mark. We receive a lot of our business referrals from CPAs, from a lot of other past clients, from attorneys, from other business folks. Somebody finally decides to sell. It's usually their biggest nest egg. It's usually their retirement, and they've not really approached the topic. I know exit planning's become a big strategy in the last few years, a number of different credentials available out there, but many of these business owners have never really prepared to sell. So it really is a kind of a new foray or initiation into the sales process for them. They've spent all their time building the business, growing their families at the same time, and increasing the value. And this is usually typically their biggest nest egg and their retirement holding. So we deal with a lot of exits of your baby boomers coming out of a very successful business, such as a heating, cooling business, plumbing, a lot of the trades, manufacturing. A lot of these folks have had these businesses 20 to 35 years quite easily.
Are there any myths or misconceptions that people still hold? Because there's a lot of information on the web, not exactly accurate. And if this is their first experience with this, they must be doing some research. What kind of myths or misconceptions have you heard out there?
Another great question. We have designed something that is generally proprietary, a 9-step process, and we call it the business transaction blueprint. One of those first stages is proper valuation of a business. That's probably the biggest misconception out there is, what is my business worth? Everybody seems to talk in terms of millions or $1 million at a time, not maybe worth $500,000 or that. We really pride ourselves on very specific go-to-market valuation before we take a client and their business to market. And that's one of the big challenges out there. They've heard from possibly their accountant or their neighbor, or maybe somebody at the golf club or country club, hey, I'm sure you can get $5 million for your business. It really is based on their individual financial performance of their corp to go to market. So there is a lot of fodder out there on that.
Right on. So when folks finally reach out to you, do you find that there are any, big common mistakes that folks are making in preparing their business for sale that could sabotage their success at selling? What are some of the big mistakes you see?
There's a glaring number one in every consult that we have with clients, whether it's myself, one of my agents, one of my other partners: confidentiality. Do not tell your friend, your neighbor. Do not tell a competitor. Do not ask somebody that you compete with, hey, would you like to buy my company? Confidentiality and guarding that is really part of that intrinsic value. Also, you risk losing your employees. You risk a relationship possibly with suppliers or with customers. And we're all creatures of habit, Mark. If somebody knows the company's for sale, they're just going to wait for it to dwindle down, or they're going to go after their employees. So I caution every person or entity contemplating sale, try to keep it tight and confidential, and select either a broker or an advisor that's going to hold all of that information in confidence, because that is part of the value at the end of the day as well.
We're in an interesting time right now because, as you mentioned, a lot of the baby boomers are starting to retire and sell their businesses. And the second wave that's happening is the Great Resignation, which is what inspired this whole series. Is this really like almost the perfect wave and time to buy or sell a business?
I think there's a phenomenal amount of opportunities out there. I'll take one, for instance, that's really been beat up as an industry category, both from the aspect of securing employees and as well as profitability, and that's the greater restaurant space, restauranting, bar owners, etc. This would be the time to buy. And I know that runs maybe a little bit counterintuitive to some people's thinking, but this is when they're going to acquire that business, probably the lower end of the value range. 2020 put a significant dent or impact onto the profitability. Obviously, some responded by changing their delivery, their pickup method. We have several past clients that only lost between 10 and 14% in 2020, but they had to significantly change their offering to the market. So yes, there are some significant buys in that space. The other areas too, there is definitely some turnover in the manufacturing arena, Mark. There's no doubt there's a lot of opportunity in that $1 to $10 million enterprise value space. Maybe they have 10, 20 employees. Sitting here in Ohio, we're in what's known as the Rust Belt. We supply the automotive industry. We have a lot of Ford and GM manufacturing around us. We have Detroit just to the north of us. Akron's the rubber capital of the world with Goodyear. So a lot of those secondary and tertiary parts and industry suppliers are owned by boomers, and they're going to be coming to market. So there's some tremendous opportunity in the Midwest for manufacturing right now too.
Darrin, what inspired you to become a business intermediary? Like, what got you started?
Yeah, it's a great question, really kind of full circle with my life, Mark. One of the most interesting things is I grew up on a very active and functional family farm, which was nonetheless an independent business. At a young age, I learned about Section 179 bonus depreciation with not really realizing what it would mean later down the road. What I've enjoyed most and what inspires me is just like that. A lot of these hardworking folks, especially some of these baby boomers looking to retire and sell their life's work, it's their biggest holding. I enjoy interacting with them. I have a lot of friends and past clients throughout the Midwest, in Florida. I've stayed with some of them for weekends, and aside from having limited time, I really try to stay in touch with most of them. And the piece of information they always share afterwards is most of them say, I wish I would have retired just a little sooner. I wish I would have done this earlier. And so, I purport that forward even to some of my own family that's aging out, maybe selling their businesses as well, is don't wait. If you're truly ready, we can get you prepared to go on the market, and don't wait too long to consult with a very reputable broker or acquisition advisor that can really give them the guidance.
Darrin, before I ask you my last question, is there anything I didn't think to ask you that you feel is important to share in regards to selling a business today or even buying a business today?
I definitely have a two-part answer because I share this with each and every client I work with. A business is more than just the sum of its parts. I think a lot of sellers come in thinking, well, the assets are worth X amount. We've sold some IT related and technology companies that literally on paper had less than $250,000 of asset value, and they sold for $9 million. So I think that, back to the valuation, it's one of the important foundations to know what it's really worth. The other piece that they would know is that it takes time to find the right buyer. It really only takes one, but it takes time. If you look at the average life cycle to sell a company worth, say, $1, $2, $3 million, maybe take that local heating, plumbing business in the area, it might take up to a year to complete a transaction if you look at all the statistics out there. So they need to also be prepared. You don't want to necessarily accept the first offer either. You want to be able to weigh it out, take a look at the viability of that person running your legacy. So it's going to take time to prep, and they need to be prepared. It may take up to a year to sell a good, successful business.
For folks listening right now who are interested or considering selling their business and don't know where to start but would love to speak with you, how do they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
Well, I'd be happy to direct them to the website. They can directly contact me at Trusted BTA, which stands for Business Transaction Advisors. TrustedBTA.com is one way. My direct point of contact, which will always reach me, is 330-388-0768. We'll always take a direct phone call, or one of my assistants or agents will get back to you within 24 hours.
Darrin, this has been terrific. I really appreciate you taking the time to share with my audience today, and I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
It's been an honor to be on here. I really appreciate the invitation, Mark. Best of luck through the rest of your day, and it's appreciated. Thank you.
That was Darrin Kert. He's the founder of TD Business Transaction Advisors, and this segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.